Yo, what up, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, I'll be giving you a guide on every single unit in set 6. If you didn't have any time to play PvE, or if you're a new player, then this is the video for you. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be giving like best in slot. I'm going to be talking about what items and what item types you should be looking for, because if I did best in slot, that is so meta dependent. And honestly, there's a lot of units that people at this time, no one knows best in slot on a lot of units, just because we haven't all played against each other for 2 months. So in this video, I'm not going to be giving like best in slot, but it'll be giving you the idea of how to play the unit and like positioning and what type of playstyle each unit has, whether they're carry, whether they're a utility unit, whether they're frontline, so that you don't have to do this whole 2 weeks of testing that I just did, and you can get it out of the way. And if you're watching this later in the set, this is really great. If you're just starting playing TFT, this video will be great for you. So let's just get right into it. We're just going to do 1 cost to 5 costs. We're going to do all the units. Boom, bam, boom. Let's do it. All right, Caitlyn. How about Caitlyn? She is a sniper and an enforcer. I'm not going to talk too much about the traits, except for when they relate to how the champion is powerful. If you want traits, I'll probably make a video on traits and stuff like that too. So anyways, Caitlyn, she's a sniper. She's a good early game carry. I really like playing her early game. There may be a reroll build somewhere out in the set. Right now, the current items you plan on building her, she is AP. So you build AP, Sojourn, or a Rageblade, or I've seen some people actually do Sojourn plus Rageblade. QSS is also a good item. But the thing you need to know is she needs, if you want to actually carry her, she typically needs some type of mana generation. She needs some type of mana generation, whether that is Sojourn or Rageblade. She needs AP, and she needs a way to kill frontline, and she needs a big frontline. Other things that are things that you need to think about are like QSS can be very good. You can also do Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer is very good. She has some mixed damage because she does do some damage with her sniper effect just by auto attacking. But key thing you need to take away is early game carry, mana gen, uptime is good, AP is good. A way to kill frontline like a GS if other people have big frontline, and then you need a big frontline if you actually want to play Caitlyn as a reroll build and you want to carry her. Boom. All right, Camille. Camille is a frontliner. She is also a challenger. She's a frontliner. She's also a challenger. She actually scales with AP. So she actually scales with AP. What she does a leg sweep in front of her, and she gains a shield after that. The leg sweep does damage, and then her auto attacks while her shield is active heals her. So she can actually a champion that you can stack with tank items. So like any of the tank items are fine. And also a death cap is actually pretty good on her if you just have some leftover AP items. Maybe you're playing an AD build and maybe you rerolled challengers, like you're doing a reroll Warwick build and Camille fits into your build somehow and you get a 3-star Camille. Then a death cap plus tank items is actually a really good combo. She's very, very, very tanky. I really like playing Camille as a frontline unit in the early game. She's also a Clockwork. Clockwork's a really insane synergy. Early game has been nerfed a billion times on PvE. But it is still pretty good, and it'll be good at some point in the set. I really like Clockwork as a synergy. So tank, and also you can build AP items on her as well. Darius is a frontliner. He's a syndicate and bodyguard. He is a good frontliner early game with Arcanist because you play him with TF. There's a build you can do. It's TF plus Ziggs, TF plus Ziggs plus Poppy plus Heimerdinger plus Zyra, and that gives you 3 syndicate. 3 Syndicate, 3 Yordle, 2 Bodyguard, 2 Arcanist, boom and boom, 2 Scholar, you're chilling. All right, what you need to put on to Darius is just tank. Tank is great. That's all you need to know. Tank. He's very, very, very good early game tank. I really like him, and he heals. Basically, what he does as an ability is he spins his axe around, and he heals based off of the units that he hits. He always heals. He doesn't necessarily need healing added onto him like a Gunblade, but sometimes there's certain augments that... There's certain augments that you would benefit. Like there's an augment where you gain gold based on how many syndicates are left alive after combat. So I have seen people slam Gunblade, even like very good players slam Gunblade on him, even though he doesn't need it, just because they had that augment. But for the most part, just tank items and he's good to go. Sometimes you can 3-star him if you're doing a reroll TF build. But other than that, you usually just item hold on him and then you transition items to Braum or late game frontliner, whatever you want to do. Cool. Talk about Ezreal. Ezreal, he is a backliner, he's a DPS, he's a scrap, he's an innovator. So whenever you're playing Ezreal, You really need to think about playing Innovator and Scrap. I know that just sounds like, yeah, of course, you know, those are your traits. He is a really decent early game carry for Scrap and Innovator. Scrap is an early game trait. You know, I said I'll do a guide on traits later, so we're not talking too much about him, but basically, it's a really good way to utilize early game items. He is AD, so the best items to slam on him if you're actually carrying him are AD and attack speed items. Very, very strong. I like to run Ezreal as an early game carry a lot, and Scrap can actually get you the fast 8. He can be a very good early game to mid game carry if you're playing around Scrap and Innovator. Those are both traits that get you to fast 8, fast 9. But again, we're not talking too much about traits. He's an 80 carry. That's all you really need to know. He has no offensive traits at all. He's just an Innovator. All right, cool. Garen. Garen is AD and tank. So whenever you're playing Garen, you build Warmogs is his best tank item. And then after that, some of the builds that I've seen going on right now are IE and BT are very good on him, but basically what you need to know is tank plus AD. So IE, BT, Warmogs is very good. Warmogs is definitely his best tank item because the way Protector works, it scales with HP. That's if you're going to play him as a carry. If you're playing him as a carry and you're going to reroll it, then you slam IE and stuff like that. If you're just playing him as a temporary frontliner, it's just Warmogs. But you can play him as a temporary carry, but you would typically switch off of him on stage 4. There is a reroll build out there where you reroll Garen, but again, we're not going to talk too much about comps. But if you do reroll Garen, you want 2 damage items plus 1 tank. Typically is what everybody seems to be running. But yeah, don't think too hard about it. Tank and damage if you want to play him. Cool. All right, Graves. Oh, I didn't tell you what Garen does. So Garen just, he just does his Q in League. So he just jumps up and slams down and it just deals damage. It doesn't silence, it just deals damage. Cool. Graves. Oh my god. Okay, Graves. He is one of the only 1 cost that actually has CC. He might be the only 1 cost that has CC, unless you want to. Oh, there's 2. There's 2 1 costs that have CC. So there's 2 1 costs that have CC. It's him. So he disarms at his target, and it does an AOE and 1 hex around where he shoots it. He's a very decent utility unit in the early game. If you play reroll protectors, you typically reroll Graves at the same time. Usually you don't itemize Graves. Maybe there's going to be some build out there later where you itemize them, but currently on the PBE and going into week 1 of set 6, you don't itemize this guy, because if you're the only reason why he stays in your build is if you're rerolling Kassadin and Garen, and you would itemize Kassadin and Garen over this guy. Or if you're running like a protector build and with a Kog'maw carry, you obviously would itemize your protectors and your Kog'maw. So he typically doesn't get items, but if you want to itemize him, some tank items are good. He is a frontliner, and yeah, so he does only have 1 hex range of attack range. So he is a frontliner. If you want to itemize him, you just itemize tank. Typically, he does deal AP damage, so if you want to do AP, you can, but that is currently not how you play him. All right, he's designed to be utility, not carry. Okay, Illaoi. She's just a tank. She doesn't really do much. What she does is she does her, I believe it's her W in League. So she slams down and she heals for a portion of the damage that she deals, or it's either a portion of the damage she deals or a portion of their health. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's inconsequential. You just put some tank items on her. If you want to main tank her in the early game, that's fine, but she's typically not one of the best main tanks, at least at the time I'm making this video. But she's just a tank and she's a mercenary. So if you want to play, if you're playing around Illaoi in your early game, you add mercenaries, you add bruisers, and then you play accordingly after that. So boom, not really much to Illaoi. Kassadin. All right, Kassadin has a mana reeve. He is a mutant as well. Not going to talk about traits too much, especially mutant. Mutant's very complicated. Anyway, so Kassadin. Kassadin is a frontliner and slash DPS slash utility. He's kind of a jack of all trades, but he is a 1 cost, so he does all of those things poorly. So he doesn't have any built-in sustain or built-in protection. The only built-in protection he has is having protector, obviously. And yeah, so he is a frontliner, and what his ability does is he shoots out his Q in League, and he does mana reave somebody when he hits them. He does not silence them. He mana reaves them. So when you're playing this guy, best items to put on him is tank. I have seen Hodge work pretty well on him. So like tank, Hodge is good. You can itemize him with some AP. I have seen some people do that. So if you want to itemize him as a carry, you can do AP on him. Other than that, Warmogs is his best tank item if you want to run him as a tank and you're running him as a 3-star. If you're not re-rolling protectors, then you just run him as a temporary frontliner and you pivot out later. He's also a mutant, so sometimes it's good to hang on to a Kassadin if you're going to play around mutant later in the game. Like maybe you're planning on playing Kaisa, you're planning on playing Kog'maw. He's good to hold on in the early game and play around a bit. But yeah, you typically don't really itemize him unless you are re-rolling protectors, and you want to play like, again, like I said, Kassadin is like a jack of all trades, so it's weird to put him in he doesn't really fit in any box. He's a frontliner, he's utility, he's a DPS, but he doesn't do any of those things well. He just does them. So yeah, you can itemize him if you reroll him, but he's kind of weird. Okay, Poppy. Poppy is a really beast of a frontliner early game. She's a really solid frontliner. She is the premier frontliner on stage 2 and stage 3 for the Yordle comp. She's also just a bodyguard. She's very good. Some of her best items are stone plate and plus just tanks. So whenever you're playing Yordles, and again, we're not talking too much about comps. That's the last time I'm going to say that. Whenever you're playing Yordles, she is your easiest frontline you get earlier. And just when you play Yordles, you get 3 stars really early. 3-star Poppy is really nice. And you want to start itemizing your backline. So that's why Stoneplate is really good, because you just solo frontline her. And almost all the Yordles are backline units. So you lack a lot of frontline when you play Yordles, because your only frontline units are Vex and Poppy. And it's really hard to add a bodyguard. You can add a you add like Blitz to that build eventually, but you add Blitz to that build eventually, but you end up swapping them out for Janna, because she's just a 4 cost. You know, she's better. So what Poppy does, she does her ability she's always done. She tosses her shield to the furthest unit. So that's what she does. And if you get an early 3-star Poppy, which you definitely can with Yordle, she actually one-shots 1-star backliners with her ulti. Maybe she doesn't after she got nerfed recently, but she does a lot of damage to backlines if they have weak backlines in the early game. And she's very, 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 very tanky. She's the main tank of Yordles on stage 2 and stage 3. Sometimes you can transition out of her main tanking to Vex main tanking if you're playing the Yordle build. But other than that, if you're not playing Yordles, you're not rerolling, then you just run her as a temporary frontliner with Yordles if you're going to pivot out, or you run her as temporary primary frontliner for bodyguard, but obviously you'd pivot out of a Poppy for like a Braum, you know what I mean? You definitely need the items off of her late game. She is a 1 cost. All right, cool. Singed. So what Singed does is Singed, he is an innovator, he's a chem tech. Cool. So you pair him with Ezreal and Heimerdinger and Zillion in the early game to get that going. Cool. So you play Singed, and what Singed does is he flips somebody and he flips them into the most crowded part of the board with enemy units. And so what he does is he flips and he stuns them, and then they land onto a crowded area on the board. And whenever his target lands, he deals a little bit of damage to them, and they get kind of like a micro stun. They get stunned, but it's really small. He has a 1 cost, obviously. So if you want to itemize this guy, you just put tank items on him. I have seen some people with certain augments, you can reroll Singed because you're rerolling Singed and Ezreal because you have like an insane augment for rerolling or something like that, or maybe you just got a really high roll opener for innovators, and then you just run Ezreal. You can run like an Ezreal 3 with a Singed 3 and go on to Fast 9 or whatever. But again, we're not talking about comps and we're not talking about meta, because that will change as the set goes, obviously. We're talking about how to play the units. All right, cool. All right, TF. TF is a really, really, really strong early game carry for Arcanist and for Syndicate. I love playing TF. He's a copy of set 4 if you played set 4 TF. So what he does, he throws out his 3 cards. I believe that's wild card in League. It's Q. He throws out his 3 cards, and it deals damage. So best items on him are mana plus AP. I really like running blue buff on him because he does have 40 mana, and it is really easy to fit in. It is really easy to fit, or 40 mana at the time you're making this video, but it is really easy to fit in Scholar, because early game you'll run, kind of a setup. I talked about this earlier. This is one of the only comps I'll actually show you for an early game comp, because I really like running this comp. Where's Poppy? Here she is. Poppy, and where's that little rat? There he is. So as you can see, this is like a really insane synergistic thing that you can get at level 6. It's very, very, very nice, very powerful, very good for econ. Anyways, but we're not talking about that. Get off of my board. All right, anyways, yeah, so just blue buff. plus AP. You can reroll TF when the circumstances align. I love rerolling TF. If not, he's a really good item holder. Really good item holder until stage 4, and you typically pivot out for a better AP carry. He's really good item holder for Lux because she's very good blue buff user as well. She uses the exact same items as TF, so it's really nice. Cool. So he's primary an item holder, but if there's a reroll build in the meta, I do like rerolling him as well. All right, Twitch. Twitch is an assassin and a Kimtech. So for obviously, if you want to itemize him, you build like IE, Last Whisper is good, Giant Slayer is good. IE is going to be his best carry item, obviously. If you want to play Ziggs, you typically need IE plus a way to kill frontliners because you can get stuck on a frontliner because he is ranged. So if he jumps back here and there's nobody close to him, then you know, you might hit him. He is an assassin, so just position accordingly as an assassin. You can position in middle if you don't know where to go because he will just attack closest targets. So if they're on the backline, he should attack backline units. But yeah, you just build crit and a way to kill frontliners. What he does is he does one, basically think if you know what his ult is in League, where he can shoot through units and impale them. He just fires one of his like ult shots instead of like it makes him where he's auto attacking like that. He is a 1 cost. I have seen some people reroll him. So if there's a reroll Twitch build out there, whenever you're watching this video, then you can't reroll him. Just build crit and a way for him to kill frontline, and you'll be good to go. All right, cool. We got Ziggs. Ziggs is a very good early game carry for Yordles. Typically, at the time I'm making this video, I just prefer playing TF as my carry, but obviously this is extremely meta dependent. But you can run that same comp that I just showed. Ziggs is a really good early game carry for, in general, if you're just wanting to play an early game carry and you're trying to transition out. What he does is he does kind of like what he did last set where he throws out a bomb, but instead of it being like it'll automatically hit the target, he throws it at where the target is and it hits the ground and it does AoE in 1 hex range. It does AoE in 1 hex range and he can miss, so it's not a targeted ability. His best items, if you're actually going to play 6 Yordle, then you can build blue buff plus AP. If you're not going to play 6 Yordle, he is better as a Sojourn user. If you don't know how 6 Yordle works, once you have 6 Yordle in, your mana cost goes down. So once your mana cost goes down, he is a decent blue buff user, but without mana cost going down, he's much better as a Sojourn user. So yeah, mana plus AP. He's a really good item holder for like Victor or Victor or any of the AP champions you get later. I don't need to talk about those. But yeah, so he's a really good item holder. And then if you want to play 6 Yordle, he's a very good carry until you get to your Veigar. And you just basically, when you're playing him, you just go for AP items. You give your leftover AP items to Heimer. So Ziggs carries your early game, or not Heimer. Ziggs carries your early game so that Veigar can carry your late game if you want to play 6 Yordles. Cool. All right, Blitzcrank. And you just put Ziggs in the backline. There's nothing special about his positioning. Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is exactly how he's always been. He hooks the furthest target. You can use him as an actual frontliner. You can do whatever. You can position him around. There's some like niche Blitzcrank positioning that I'm not going to go into because it is extremely specific. But you either frontline him or you typically put him in a corner. One thing I really want to talk about real quick is like, let's say you're running like a scrap comp or something like that, and you're running Ziggs as your carry. You don't want to have Ziggs over here and Blitzcrank over here. Because what will happen is he'll hook their carry, CC them for a second, and then their carry will just kill Blitz, and then will be closer to your carry. It doesn't do anything. Blitz can't kill them. He just knocks them up and then gives them mana by auto-attacking them, and he actually buffs their carry. You don't actually get any CC if you're not able to kill them whenever they get them, because you CC them for 1 second, and then you're just feeding them mana. So like that CC is basically nullified. So you typically, if you want to back on your Blitz, I like back on my Blitz a lot if I don't need him for frontline, then you just back on your Blitz and put him next to your carry so that your carry can finish him off. Can finish off whoever he hooks. Cool. Katarina is really similar to how she was in set 5. Yes, at the beginning of set 5. So what she does is she blinks to a target and she does a little AoE whip around her. It is AP damage. The only difference from the set 5 version is that she doesn't throw a knife first and then catch it. So she does deal less damage, but that's why she's a 2 cost. She is just a DPS. She's purely a DPS. So if there's ever a reroll build out there, at the time I'm making this video, she's not super good. But if there's ever a reroll build out there, you just build crit And blue buff is decent on her. She's a really decent item holder for Akali, but you just build crit and AP. So like IE, death cap, and then blue buff is fine, but it's not necessary. You know, you could just build survivability as well. You could just build full damage. You could build Hodge. You could build a bunch of stuff. Don't think about it too much. Just crit because she's an assassin, plus AP, and plus some type of survivability. And if you want some mana gen, you can get some mana gen if you want to. Boom, bam, boom. Bob's your uncle. Let's go. All right. Kog'Maw. He has a twin shot. He has a sniper. He is a mutant. All right, so he's obviously a backliner, so we just position him on backline. Typically, you play Cog whenever you have... If you want to play Cog, he's really good with... There's 2 mutant augments that he's pretty decent with, at least that I've found now, but there are some better ones. At the time of making this video, the Elderwood mutant mutation is like really insane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll talk about augments in a whole separate video. Mutants, or not augments, but synergies and traits. Mutant is a special case that it changes every game. So the one that's like Elderwood, where you gain resist, that one's just like really OP at the time you're making this video. So it's really hard to judge if that's even good with Kog'Maw. But the ones that is really good is the chance to double attack is really good with Kog'Maw because he does have a chance to double attack already with twin shot. So that's really insane. And then he does have dual scaling. So what Kog'Maw does is he does a lot what his W does in League of Legends, I believe, where his auto attacks will deal percent health. Percent maximum health in magic damage. So he is an auto attacker, but he does deal AP damage in a way. So some good items on Kog'Maw. Rageblade is insane, and he does gain attack speed whenever he does it, and as well as Twin Shot. Twin Shot gives you a chance to attack twice, and as well as if you have the mutant augmentation that gives you the chance to attack twice, then if you have Rageblade, it just multiplies. You know, you just get so fast. So after that, Rageblade, you can build an AP item. You could build AD items. His build's pretty flexible. I imagine his build is going to be very meta dependent, very patch dependent on how you actually itemize them. But basically right now, you should think of him as Rageblade +1 or Rageblade +2 are very good. Giant Slayer is very good. I really like those as well. So like Rageblade, Giant Slayer, those are always going to be good on him no matter the meta, I would imagine, unless for whatever reason Warmogs is not good for the first time in the history of the game. I can't imagine. Anyways, so yeah, if you don't know what to build, Giant Slayer, Rageblade, you should be good to go. But the rest of his itemization should be pretty, pretty meta dependent. He is a good item holder if you want to transition into like Jhin, anybody basically. He can hold AD items. He can hold some AP items. He's really good. You know, you can item hold him for Kaisa is the easiest one, obviously. For Urgot is easy as well. Jinx, all that good stuff. He can item hold for everybody. He's a little bit of jack of all trades when it comes to that. But yeah, you can item hold him, or you can go for a reroll. Typically, you only go for a reroll, and the mutant augmentation is favorable for you, or the mutation is favorable to you. Lulu, okay, what Lulu does what she did in set 4, I think. Well, anyway, she makes one of your allies grow, so they get big, and she heals them. She heals them when she makes them big, and it does a micro knockup. Like they knock them up just for a second. Think of it kind of like how Ivern's Daisy was balanced in the end at the end of set 5. That it would do like just kind of like an interrupt. Think of it like that. It's a micro stun or a micro knockup. Anyways, she does that. As she stars up, she does get more targets. Maybe that'll be changed. Maybe that'll be balance dependent. But at the time of making this video, every time she stars up, she gains more targets. So for example, if she's 3-star, she'll make 3 of her allies big and will heal them. It's very, very, very strong. So yeah, you just run her in the Yordle composition, and I can imagine at some point she's like an enchanter that you can splash in late game if you're versus a magic damage dealer. But typically you just play her when you're playing Yordles, and you play her to generate econ with your Yordles early game. Very big power spike on 3-star, at least at the time of making this video. So if you're playing Yordles, it's really nice once you hit a 3-star of her. Utility unit. You can itemize her with mana. You can do Sojin. You can do, I really like building, if you're going to build chalices, I really like putting the chalices on her. Cool. And whenever you position Lulu, you want to backline her typically. And you want to put her like either next to your carry. So let's say you're carrying Ziggs. You're carrying Ziggs. You either want to put her next to your carry. Let's say you have, I don't know, let's say you're running something like this, and like, I don't know what the rest of your comp is, but you have like these units on your backline, right? You either want her here to protect your Ziggs. So if an assassin jumps, she'll either, and the assassins are hitting you guys, then she'll probably buff one of you guys. You guys will get low, right, if you're versus Sins. And then she'll knock up and she'll protect your Ziggs. Or if you already have like stuff in front of your Ziggs right here, you put her on the edge so that if an assassin jumps and they get stuck here and they go in to sack your backline, then they will get knocked up, because if they're attacking Lulu, they'll generate mana for your Lulu, and then Lulu will be low because she's getting attacked and she'll knock herself up, and you'll be good to go. So that's the Lulu positioning there for the most part. Sometimes you can second row her here for the same reasons. You know, people are jumping in, you can knock up, or you have a blitz hooking to here, you can second row her, or I guess it's third rowing if you're depending on which direction you're going from. All right, cool, Lulu. All right, Quinn. Quinn is a mercenary and a challenger. She is actually AP. I know, sounds weird, right? What she does is she throws out Valor, her bird, and it is an AoE disarm. So she disarms with an AoE. It does AP damage. If you want to run her as a carry, if you want to run her as a reroll build or something like that, good items on her are mana generation like Sojin or Rageblade. Rageblade is really insane on challengers because the way challenger works, they gain attack speed on a takedown, and you know, you can just like get so many Rageblade stacks when you get a takedown, and that can be really good for mana generation. Other than that, you build AP. So she is an AP damage dealer. If you want to play her as a carry, that's how you play her. Typically, you pair her with a Warwick, and you know, maybe you're playing your mercenaries. Her build's really flexible. I'm not going to talk too much about builds, obviously, but typically you reroll her and Warwick at the same time because they are both 2 cost, and you can kind of build a duo carry build with both of these, at least at the time of me making this video. But again, builds are extremely meta dependent. What you need to know is she is a carry and utility, but she has a really hard time carrying by herself because her mana cost is just insanely high. And if they change her mana cost to lower her damage, she's not designed to be able to solo carry. So just keep that in mind. If you want to play her as a carry, you will need a duo carry, whether that's Warwick or whether that's some late game challengers that you get, or whether you're playing mercenaries and you get like a Gangplank 3 or something like that. She typically need, if you want to play her as a carry, you need a duo carry, but she is a very solid utility unit as well. All right, cool. Swain. So what Swain does is Swain does his like Sith Lord lightning stuff right in front of him, right? And he deals damage and he heals himself for some of the damage that he deals. Cool. So he is a decent frontliner in Arcanus, but it's just like Vex is better frontline. You can stack him with AP items at some point. He's always either going to be good with tank items or AP. I don't know when he's ever going to be strong. He doesn't necessarily feel strong at me at the time of making this video, so he's a little weird. He is very short ranged. So you typically put him second row or first row if you have tank items on him. But yeah, he's just a little tanky, does some damage, kind of like a jack of all trades in that regard. So he does kind of both. So he's tank, damage, just build AP if you want to play him, and you should be good to go. And when you're playing Imperials, like, again, I'm not going to talk about builds that is so meta dependent, but you just either play him Imperials or Arcanist. I know that just sounds kind of like, yeah, of course. But I mean, yeah, of course, that's where you play him. Anyways, cool. Let's move on. Talon. Okay. Talon is AP. Isn't that weird? Talon's an assassin and an Imperial. Boom and boom. Cool. If you're wanting to play Talon reroll, oh my God. If you want to play Talon reroll or Talon as an item holder, cool, then you can do that. He is an assassin, so crit is going to be his best damage scaling. So IE is very good. IE is very good. You don't need jeweled. I know I just said that he deals magic damage, but you guys know how assassin works is it makes it to where your spells can crit as well. So IE is going to be better. It gives you more crit chance, and you get a lot of, or gives you more crit damage based off of your crit chance, which you get crit chance scaling on assassin. And your spells can crit now, so you'll deal a lot of damage there. So some solid items to build onto Talon is crit. You can build uptime stuff like QSS or RFC are also good. You can build and then AP is good for damage. So you can also build GA for uptime and for defensiveness. So you can do IE plus a defensive or uptime item plus a third damage item. And the third damage item is typically AP, or you can also do Gunblade. Gunblade is very good because he does heal for Gunblade on every single tick that he does. And so basically what Talon does, since I didn't explain his ability, while he's auto-attacking every third hit, he gets a passive bleed onto them. So it is very good. I've seen a lot of people run RFC. RFC seems pretty good as a utility item, but basically what you need to know, crit +2. I would imagine it's going to be survivability plus another damage item. So just think about that. 2 damage plus 1 survivability is how you should think about running them. And cool, he has a 2 cost, so you can just run him as an item holder, or you can run him as a reroll build. Boom. All right, Tristana. She has a Yordle. She can be a carry of the Yordle comp as well if you're getting 80 items. She's just think of her like set 5 Tristana. She's not as good as set 5 Tristana. She doesn't hop away. What she does is she fires out her ultimate in League, and it knocks whoever she is hitting back, and it knocks them into some other units. Cool. So she is very strong with Rage Blade is a good item. She scales with AD. So just Rage Blade plus 80 items is going to be your best bet. I really like doing Rage Blade on her. She has a sniper and a Yordle. She can be the carry of your Yordle comp if you want to run a Yordle comp. If you're not running a Yordle comp, she's typically just an item holder for just late game AD carries. Or if you're running a 3 Yordle comp and you get a 3-star Trist, I guess you could carry her. It's really dependent on meta. But yeah, just Rage Blade plus 80 items. You backline her somewhere. Cool, and you're good to go. She doesn't need sniper that bad to deal damage, by the way. So if you're thinking about that when you're playing Yordles, it's better just to have utility units. Just get more frontline for her. Then you should be good to go. Obviously, meta dependent. All right, Trundle. Trundle gives them the big suck. You know what I mean? If you played Trundle in set 4.5, is that when there was Dragon Slayers? Played Trundle in set 4.5. It's pretty similar to Trundle in set 4.5, except for the difference is Trundle in set 4.5 would drain their tankiness, so you could instantly kill frontliner and make it was broken. I believe that's what he does. It's been a long time. Now what he does is he drains a portion of their AD, and he gets the AD. So I have seen some carry comps come out of this whenever you get some reroll augments and you're playing around scrap and bruisers. I have seen some pretty hyphy Trundle stuff. So Trundle is a really good early game carry for a frontliner, and he's pretty tanky as well. But he's really good as an early game damage dealer is what he's really primarily focused as. But if you get like a situation where you get to reroll it, cool, you can reroll it. So if you're playing him as you want to DPS him, then you actually build attack speed and some type of survivability is going to be really good for you. So like Rage Blade, maybe there's an RFC build. I don't know. I haven't really seen it that much. Rage Blade, BT, could be good. That's a little bit of survivability. Maybe a Titans, maybe just some tanky items. But if you want to itemize him aggressively, it's attack speed. You don't need AD because he gives them the big suck. Maybe that'll change at some portion in the set, but at least at the time of making this video, he gives them the big suck. And if you want to itemize him, it's just attack speed. Cool. So you can either run him as a reroll build whenever it arises, or if that's in meta. If not, he can item hold some AD items, or not AD items, but yeah, he can item hold your AD items if you want him to. Cool. Alrighty, and your attack speed, obviously. All right, cool. Vi. All right, let's talk about Vi. All right, Vi is a copy of the set 4 Vi, the Sister Fister build, you know what I'm saying? Cool. So she punches forward and she deals AoE damage. It is AP. So if you want to itemize her, it's just tank plus AP. She is also a sister. She is the Sister Fister. So she's really good to just hang on to if you think you're going to have a Jinx pivot late game. Like if you have items to play Jinx and you have a good setup, it's really good to not sell your Vi and to hold on to it. So typically, if you think you're going to go into... If you think that you're going to go into a Jinx-centric build, you typically don't itemize her because Jinx is a legendary, so you don't know if you're going to get Jinx. This is if you're not rerolling Vi. If you're going to try to get to 8 and play Jinx, you typically don't itemize her. The reason why is because she's not better than your late-game bruisers. So if you don't end up hitting Jinx and you end up having to play Urgot, you don't want to have to like hold this Vi on your bench that has items, right? Or you don't want to sell the Vi and then you do your next roll. You roll next turn, now you hit Jinx, now you don't have Vi. It's not like they necessarily need each other, but they definitely have a really powerful synergy together. So what she does is when she gains Sister, is that her AoE punch, where she deals the magic damage in front of her, it goes really far. So let's see exactly what it says. Right now, at the time we make this video, she gains 2 additional hexes. So it already goes 2 hexes, so it goes 4 hexes. So it goes all the way to the backline. So if you position them right in front of the backline, she will one-shot backline and deal a lot of damage if you are re-rolling her. So she's only super strong if you're re-rolling her. If you're playing Jinx as your carry, she does some decent damage in the comp, but it's really just like splash damage. It's just like some extra damage you're sprinkling on top. So she is really good if you're rerolling her, if you want to actually damage amp her. But if you're just playing Jinx, typically you don't itemize her, at least at the time of making this video. So yeah, if you're not rerolling, don't itemize her. And if you think you're going to play Jinx, then you typically don't itemize her as well. Just because the same reason, it just makes you have to make difficult decisions late game. But if you do want to itemize her, tank plus AP, and you're good to go. Warwick. All right, Warwick is extremely similar to set Warwick. For all of you guys who are having Vietnam flashbacks about Warwick, it's okay. It's okay. He doesn't have his fear. So what Warwick does is he auto attacks and he gains health while he's auto attacking. He's kind of like Olaf. Kind of like Olaf in that sense. But he has a challenger. So challengers kind of like jump around the map a lot. So that's why he's a 2 cost instead of being a 1 cost, whereas Olaf wasn't, because his synergy gains him attack speed naturally. He gets natural attack speed gain. And then he also, since he's a challenger, he like jumps across the map. It jumps around the map kind of like Cavalier, but only on takedowns. Cool. So he is a good item holder. He's also, and if you want to reroll him, then that's good as well, at least at the time of making this video. But the way that you play him, he is a damage carry, or he's just a synergy bot for Kimtech or Challenger. If you're running him as a damage carry, some of the best items are QSS seems to be mandatory, unless you get like maybe you can do an RFC build. I just haven't really seen it much. But some type of uptime item is mandatory, or late game, he will just get CC'd into oblivion. You will not be able to play the game. So good items on him are uptime, like QSS or RFC, attack speed, and AD are good items. He is hitting frontline, so items like GS are going to be good for you. There's a lot of health in the game. Like bruisers are actually good champions. You know, a lot of previous sets, like brawlers are not actually good units late game, but Mundo and Zac are actually good units. They're comparable to the bodyguards. So items like GS are going to be really good on him. Any type of AD, any type of attack speed, and in an uptime item, you're good to go. Also, static Shiv is decent if you have a lot of challengers. It can be pretty good. I know when I said static Shiv, you played set 4, you're getting flashbacks again. Yeah, it's not as OP as it was in set 4, but you can play a Shiv stack as well. If you want to play him, you know, you can frontline him or you can second row him if you want to protect him, and you should be good to go. Cool. All right, Zilean. What Zilean does, he tosses a little bomb out. He tosses a little bomb out on top of somebody, and it stuns them, and then it deals some damage. He's pretty decent at the time he makes this video. I mean, he stuns them. It's pretty cool. Anyways, he's a clockwork and an innovator, so he is a splash unit early in. He's typically used as a splash unit mid game to get clockwork, right? Or a splash unit to get innovator. He does have very good tags in innovator and clockwork for early and mid game. Very good early and mid game. And then if you want to reroll him, I have seen some people itemize him. It seems fine, but he's primarily a utility unit. But maybe there'll be a meta patch where he's good at, you know, where he's a decent carry as a reroll. Who knows? And if you want to do that, you build mana gen like Sojin plus AP. If you want to itemize him, typically you don't itemize him. He is just a really good synergy bot, and has a decent ability. So I do like Zilean a lot. All right, Zyra. Zyra is a 2 cost now. She's a 2 cost Syndicate and Scholar. You guys saw kind of the early game build that I plugged her into. She is an early game unit. She's not very powerful. What she does is she summons her roots on the hex with the most units. So she can be very powerful if you're versus a comp that has like, you know, sometimes comps will have like single frontliners and they'll have like all these people in the back line all in the same row. So she's really good versus comps like that because she'll just get some insane value. You typically don't run her as a carry. I'm sure there'll be a patch out there where she carries, but that's not what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to be some decent splash damage that you get in there, right? She's a really good splash trait and Scholar. So she has really decent like damage on top, right? And she can be a decent second carry if you're rerolling somehow. I played a build yesterday where I played reroll TF, and I had like a reroll augment. Don't remember what I had, but I ended up hitting a Zyra 3, and I put my leftover items on her. In some fights she popped off, but she's a little inconsistent to run as a primary carry. So she's primary utility unit. I'm sure there'll be a patch out there where she's a carry, but that's not what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to be a secondary carry if you reroll her, and then just a really decent. She has really decent tags, especially early and mid game for your comp. All right, Cho'gath. right, Cho'gath is a Colossus. If you don't know how Colossus works, it takes up 2 slots. Urgots, or not Urgots. Why do I keep calling it Urgots? Cho'gath, what he does his feast that he does in League of Legends. And when he feasts them, that's his ultimate. So he bites them. If he kills them, he gains a stack. And if he gains a stack, then he gains health. Now the max stats will change with balance. At the time of making this video, he can gain 20 stacks at 1 star, 40 at 2 star, I believe, and then basically infinite at 3 star. Okay. Cho'gath, at least at the time of making this video, maybe the meta will change, but you typically only run Cho'gath if you get him on the first couple of rounds of the game. You know, you get him by 2-1. Maybe you can get him a little bit after it, you can get away with it. You can run him as a reroll build if you're rerolling him and a Kog'maw, and just make sure it's a good mutation. If it's the Elderwood one, that it's insane for him. I mean, Elderwood is just broken anyways at the time you make this video, so it's hard for me to judge, but it is probably his best augment that's going to be the whole time. The Predator one, the Execute, not augment, but the mutation. The Execute mutation, I would imagine is pretty good, and that synergizes with his stacking ability. Other than that, the other mutations are not very good. So if you want to run him as a reroll, you'd probably only want to reroll him in the mutation build if you are, you know, if you're getting it for free, you know, you have a good reroll augment, or you're just hitting a lot of Cho'gaths. But like the mutations that you look for to play Cho'gath when you hit him is the Elderwood one, where you gain size and and you gain some resist and damage. What's wrong with me? Anyways, that one's going to be really good. And then the Execute one is decent as well. He's a good frontliner when you're rerolling Kog'Maw, because you can reroll for Kog'Maw and him at the same time. Other than that, you don't play him late game unless like it just makes a lot of sense. I don't know where it would make a lot of sense, but you know, who knows what can happen. But typically you only run him if you hit him early, or you're going to get a good mutation for him. You hit a lot of them, or you're going to reroll Kog'Maw, and it just makes sense to reroll him at the same time. All right, cool. Echo. So what Echo does, Echo tosses down his W in League of Legends. Guys, if you can tell, I played League for almost 10 years. He tosses down his W that he does in League of Legends. Except for it doesn't stun. His W is that AoE. It's a really massive AoE circle. And he tosses it down after a delay. He casts, and after a delay it lands. He tosses it at the most populated spot on the board of enemy units. And what it does is it basically applies a frozen heart to all of them. I don't know how much attack speed it actually leeches, and there's not important for you to know that because it's going to change throughout balance. But it leeches some of their attack speed. It doesn't give it to Echo. It just takes some of their attack speed away. Basically like they're getting frozen heart. Very, very, very cool. And it also deals some damage as well. So he is a utility unit in the Sin build and the Assassin build, especially when you're rerolling Shaco. He's a very good unit to reroll at the same time because they are both the same cost. I have ran a Shaco Echo carry build where I gave leftover items to Echo, and basically you just build crit AP, or you can build some mana gen if you want him to cast a lot like Sojin. But you don't think about itemizing him, you just give him leftover items typically, unless there's some patch out there where he's broken, but he's designed to be a utility unit. Cool. Gonk Plonk. Let's talk about Gangplank, man. Let's talk about Gangplank. We're talking about Gangplank. Anyways, all right. What Gangplank does, he does this Q from League of Legends where he fires off a bullet out of his little pistol he's got on his side. And if he kills them, you gain 1 gold. It's pretty insane. And he's also a mercenary, so he's all about that gold generation. It only hits 1 target. It can't hit multiple targets if he twin shots because it is coded as an auto attack. So if you end up getting twin shots going, boom, you're big chilling. So if you want to play him as a carry, you play him because you got like an early mercenary setup and you got good items to play him. The items you want to play on GP is damage. So like IE is good, Giant Slayer is good, BT is good for some survivability. You could build like a GA if you wanted to for some survivability. I wouldn't recommend it, at least at the time of making this video. But he just builds AD items, and that's all you need to know. And so you can run him 2 different ways. You can reroll him because you got like an early mercenary, you hit an early GP, and you reroll him, you're good to go. You can do that if you want to, or you can just item hold him, abuse that he generates mana or generates gold for you, and then pivot out to like Urgot or Jhin or something because you slammed like these crazy or Urgot, Jhin or the challengers late game. because you just slam these crazy AD items on him. So yeah, he's pretty cool. You can frontline him or just second row him. Typically, he is 1 hex range. So if you want to protect him, just put him on second row and put a tank in front of him. If not, just put him up there to get in the mix. All right, cool. Really inconsistent unit, but can be really powerful in the right circumstances. He's not very strong on his own because of his mana gen, or not his mana gen, his gold generation. But yeah, he is a carry if you want to play him, or a decent item holder. All right, the Dong Man. So what the Dong Man does is he does his W from League of Legends, where he tosses out rockets in front of him. And if you, in every third time, maybe the number will change throughout the set. He does it a bunch of times. So it's very similar to Karma, as like Karma goes like boom, boom, and then boom. You know what I mean? Cool. So think about him a little bit like Karma, but he only hits what's in front of him instead of just Karma, tosses the backline. But it's the same idea with how it like kind of like ramps over time. He doesn't lose mana like Karma does, but you get the idea. Anyways, you can itemize him with AP in the Innovator build if you have leftover items. I'm sure there's going to be a patch where he's really strong and you can do that. Or you can itemize him in the Yordle build. At the current time we're making this video, you don't. But he just builds AP and mana generation. Sojourn's pretty good on him. You can build blue buff if you want, but just AP if you want to itemize him, and you're good to go. He can only hit frontline, so Giant Slayer is pretty decent as well. And he has to hit frontline before he can hit backline. He doesn't have any way to hit backline naturally. So Giant Slayer can be a pretty good item for him as well. All right, cool. Leona. Let's talk about Leona. So Leona is an academy and a bodyguard. All right, Leona is, what she does is she casts, it looks like she's kind of casting her solar for her ultimate, but what she does is she doesn't do any ability from League, basically. What she does is she gains a health shield. She gains a shield, and whenever she casts it, she does an AoE around her, gives her allies 2 hex range, at least that's time we made this video. She gives them armor and magic resist. So cool. She's a very solid frontliner. She's a 3 cost. She's really decent mid-game frontliner. You can item hold her if you want to like transition to running Braum and Galio as your 2 bodyguards. You can item hold her for that reason, or if you end up just getting in a scenario where you reroll her, she is very, very, very tanky. I played a 3-star Leona last night. It was pretty nutty. She's very, very, very tanky. So she can be a main tank in a comp if you need her. If you ever want to itemize her and you end up not like 3-starring her or whatever, you would typically just item hold her and then sell and put the items onto a Galio for the most part. Or if you can remake her and you have it in a Galio, then you can just put the items on Braum. Just Braum and Galio are going to be better at holding the items at 2-star, obviously because she's a 3 cost. So just keep that in mind whenever you're playing her. She's a really solid frontliner the whole game, and especially she's really solid with challengers if you're playing Yone as one of your carries. He gives you Academy for free. But as it stands right now, you run her into hit if you're playing for Academy and you're not going to stack full academies and you're only going to play like 2 academies, then you typically just have her in your comp until you hit a Galio and a Yuumi, and you swap her out for Galio and Yuumi so you can get Academy from Yuumi if you're carrying your Yone, and then Galio replaces her as a tank, and you're good to go. Cool. Lissandra is a ranged unit. What she does is she does her ultimate from League of Legends. And so if she's below a certain health threshold, that'll change the balance, obviously. She will cast it on herself. And what it does is it entombs her, makes her not take damage anymore. And then it deals AoE damage around her, and it spreads out over a course of like 1 second or so. So she deals AoE all around her. And then I believe it's a 2 hex range, at least at the time we make this video. That could change. And then if she is above that health threshold, then she can cast onto an enemy unit, and it'll do the same thing, but around the enemy unit. So typically, if you want to play her as a like carry and you get like backline items like Sojourn, then you can backline her. You'd put her like in this cubby over here on either side, right? Or you can second row her. But she's really good just sticking her in the front line. She is a scholar and a Kimtech, so just so you know. But she's really good in the front line because either way, you can get value off of her Entomb, because if you backline her and she gets below that threshold, she'll just start ulting herself, and that won't be good. Like, let's say you're versus a Jhin and she's just ulting herself. So you're just trading autos with a Jhin and she just keeps ulting herself. So almost always you wanna frontline her. Where'd she go? almost always you want to frontline her for the reasons I just stated. Yeah, some good items on her that I've seen. Spell crit is good. If you want to carry her, she can be a good early game carry, or if you end up rerolling her, she can be good. Yeah, if you want to reroll her or play her as an early game carry, you play damage items. You play. You don't need mana gen because you're going to frontline her. Gunblade can be good if you want to do like a Gunblade. You know, you can do like a synergistic build like Gunblade, Archangel Staff, because Archangel now scales through time. And like a GA is good. I've seen people run GA on her. She's one of the very few GA users. Giant Sword could be good because you're hitting a lot of frontline, right? Cool. The other thing that she does that I didn't mention, at least she does this at the time of me making this video, it could be removed because it is very good, is she also dazzles them. If you played set 4, she dazzles them, which reduces their attack damage of the people that she hits. At least at the time of me making this video, she does that. She might not do it later because it is pretty strong. Typically, you just run her as an item holder in an early game, or if there's a reroll build out there, then you run her as reroll and you frontline her. She's very good frontline. But she can't solo frontline or anything like that. So you need to have frontliners around her like Mudo and Zac or something like that. You can play her late game in a Chemtech board, or you can play her late game in like an Urgot 3 Chemtech board, and you just play 4 Chemtechs. Like playing 4 Chemtechs is fine. You play her to get Scholar, and she's just a really good unit. Really solid. She is primarily a utility unit, but I'm sure there'll be patches where she's good as a damage dealer as well. Cool. Malzahar. So what Malzahar does is his space aids. I believe that's, what is that? His W in League? I don't know. I think it's a W. I feel like I'm getting all these right, but maybe I'm getting some of them wrong. He does his W in League, which is his space aid. So it's a damage over time ability, single target. So so he casts that on somebody. If it kills them, the same way it works in League, it'll bounce to the nearest target. So if he kills a unit, it'll bounce to the nearest target, and it can stack. So if he's constantly casting, he could double stack space aids on a single target and just deal a lot of damage. So he's really good with AP. He's really good. He's a decent Gunblade user, and you can build mana generation items. If you don't have the mutation where it reduces your mana, the better mana generation item, I believe, is, well, actually blue buff still works good. Blue buff is probably your best mana generation item. Unless they change his mana, then it's Sojin. But at the time we make this video, Sojin or blue buff is better than Sojin, and then AP. But as I've seen, a lot of people just run full damage. If you just run full damage, pretty good. But he's especially good if you have the mutation where it reduces your mana cost. He's also good with the mutation where it executes, because obviously the synergistic effect, if you kill, then it bounces. So anything that helps you kill will help out Malzahar DPS. So either of those mutations are pretty good. You just backline him, put AP on him, you're good to go. He's also a good item holder. And he a lot of times you'll be playing Arcanist, you'll be playing like you'll be playing like Lux carry, and then randomly your no item Malzahar will just pop off because he just got like really good RNG where he got some really good bounces, and he just pops off. All right, MF. MF is a copy from set 5 MF. So she's a copy from set 5 MF. Except for she doesn't have Forgotten and stuff like that. She does a little bit less. At the time we make this video, she's a little bit more underwhelming than she was before, especially because she's a mercenary. She's supposed to be weaker than she was in set 5. But I just lost to an MF carry just now. So anyways, but surely there'll be a patch where MF carry is good. I don't know. But typically you don't run her as a carry. She's just decently as utility. But if you do run her as carry, she's decent as utility because she does do her Make It Rain ability and she reduces their healing. So it's pretty good for that reason. Pretty good to run as a sniper with Jhin. If you don't know what to run and you don't have healing reduction, she can be really good as like a utility fit in there. If she does end up being a good carry at some point in the set, then her items are just going to be Sojin plus 2 damage. That's gonna be her build for the most part. Spell crit works really well. She does hit a lot of front lines, so you end up needing a Giant Slayer, you can do Giant Slayer, but it's just AP plus a Sojin if you want to carry her. If not, decent utility unit and in a Jhin build if you need to splash her in, if you need that damage or healing reduction. Samira. All right, Samira is a challenger and an Imperial. What Samira does. Samira, if she is ranged and they are not within 1 hex of her, then she will shoot her pistol, right? Or her gun, whatever she has. I couldn't tell you the ability name. It must be a Q, right? That looks like a Q. I've never played Samira in my life. All right, I'm just gonna guess Q. She fires out her Q, which is just basically like a ranged auto attack with her gun, kind of like GP. And so she'll fire it. It deals damage and it shreds a little bit of armor. If she is in melee range, she uses her sword and it does AoE. So it is single target on her gun and it is AoE on the sweep. At this time, people just build AD on her and a little bit of survivability. There may be some angle, some patch where you frontline her because you try to get that blade effect and maybe you build a GA on her. But at the time of making this video, you just build her like an AD carry, attack speed, AD items, maybe a BT, good on her. She's good to go. This is a reroll build or an item holder. At the time of making this video, she's not very strong, but you know, at some point in the set, she will be. Cool. Build her like an AD carry and you're good to go. Shaco is exactly the same champion he was in set 3, except for he doesn't get a Dark Star benefit. He's a Syndicate and an Assassin. When you're playing Shaco, some of the best, obviously since he's an Assassin, he gets scaling off of crit, so your best bet for damage is going to be Infinity Edge. You position him on the sides that you want him to jump everybody, right? Cool. Build Infinity Edge for his damage amp. Some other items you can build with him is a GA is decent if you want some survivability. A Giant Slayer is good if you get stuck on a tank, or Last Whisper is good if you get stuck on a tank. RFC is good to avoid getting stuck on a tank and getting CC'd. So it's just, you can build damage plus 1 defensive plus more damage, or damage plus shred plus defensive. That'll probably change with meta, but what you really need to know is IE plus whatever's meta at the time, and usually 1 defensive item is pretty good. You typically don't need Bloodthirster. Bloodthirster is typically a bait. Maybe this will change at some point in the set, but it's because the way Syndicate works is you gain Omnivamp with Syndicate on the lowest current health champion, and a lot of times Shaco is the last champion left alive because of the way his ability works. Oh, I didn't even say what his ability does. He goes invisible for a second, and then he crits them. He does a lot of damage. He backstabs them or whatever from League. So he goes invisible, and then he does his passive from League, which is a backstab. Believe it's Q that he goes invisible. I'm just guessing. I'm playing a mini game right now, guys. So he just does that, and it crits, and it deals a lot of damage. Cool. And he's typically the last one left alive because he does de-aggro if people start looking at him when he goes invisible. So he's typically the last Syndicate left alive, or last Assassin left alive. So he always gets the Syndicate buff at the end. Another good item is Rageblade. Rageblade is good on him as well because he does de-aggro so much. He does live for so long, typically, so he can get a lot of value off of Rageblade as well. I do really like Rageblade Shaco. If you guys remember set 3, it was pretty good. All right, Tarek, this fabulous boy. He has a Socialite and an Enchanter. So he just has some really, really insane tags, especially for late game. Socialite and Enchanter is really good. He's such good as just a splash unit. You don't know what to play. Toss in a Tarek late game or mid game, and you should be good to go because it's just really solid. So what Tarek does as an ability is he casts his Q. It's his Q, I think, his heal. He heals himself and the lowest percent health ally. So one low health ally and then himself. It is percent health at the time we make this video. They just changed it actually, so boom. Cool. So he heals himself and an ally. Very strong ability. He just has really insane tags. You typically don't itemize Tarek because he's just not the best frontliner. You know, like you'd rather itemize like Braum or Mundo or Galio or Sion or something like that, right? Cool. So you typically just splash him into your comp. If you end up 3-starring him somehow for whatever reason, then yeah, itemize him with tank items and maybe do like a tank and 1 Archangel staff, right? But typically it's going to be like 3 tank items. You should be good to go. If you want to itemize them. If not, don't itemize them. All right, Vex. Let's talk about Vex. So what Vex does, I don't know anything about Vex. I've never played Vex in my life, so all right, I'm going to lose on this one. I don't know. I'm going to guess W. She gains a shield. Is that her W? We'll find out. She casts a shield, so she gets a big fatty shield scaling off of her AP, and then and then after a certain amount of time, it pops and it deals damage 1 hex around her. She's a really fun and cool unit. She is the primary frontliner in the Arcanist build. Think about her as Annie in any set Annie's ever been in. She's Annie. Well, primarily set 4. Think about her like set 4 Annie, I think. She is just set 4. She is just the Annie of this set, so she's the AP frontliner. She doesn't have any CC or anything like that, so she is just flat, raw stats. So you just put tank items on her. If you want to put any type of AP item on her, then it would be Archangels, I would imagine, because she does live a long time. But she's going to be good with tank and good with Ionic Spark for obvious reasons, because you shred their magic resist, helps her deal damage, helps your backline deal damage, and get through that front line pretty fast. But you do frontline her. If you end up running her just as like a synergy bot in your build, you can like backline frontline her to like help your team, and maybe you're running like bodyguards up here like Braum and Poppy or whatever, you know. But typically she's going to be your primary frontliner in Arcanist. You typically, if you need a splash in Arcanist, you don't splash her in because she doesn't do anything except for frontline. You'd rather splash in somebody who actually deals damage. All right, cool. Zach, my man Zach. All right, so what Zach does, it's his Q, I believe. He attaches one of his arms to his furthest ally in one side, or it might be his closest one, whatever. And then or not furthest ally, to furthest enemy, and then furthest enemy in his attack range. So he's really good at peeling. This is all you really need to know. I don't know what the initial one does. I don't remember. But what you need to know is that he grabs two people and he smacks them together. But what you need to know about it is, this is really what you need to know, is he is very good at peeling for your backline. So if you guys played set 5, and you played Galio, you know how like you played Lucian. Okay, not you. You're a frontliner. Let's get Jhin up in here. So let's say you're playing. Just pretend this is Galio and Lucian, right? You'd want to put your Lucian wherever you're putting your Lucian. You'd want to put your Galio in front of them, because what Galio will do is if somebody jumps to the backline, he would taunt them. Zach does the same thing. So he grabs the furthest enemy that is within his like cast range, and that may change over time with balance. But so let's say a Shaco jumps back here. Once Zach casts, he will typically grab the assassin and pull them away from you. So it's really good whenever you position Zach to think about putting it in front of your carry. If not, he's just a really, really solid frontliner. You typically don't itemize Zach because you do play him in your late game build. If you know you're going to pivot out of bruisers, then great, itemize him. But you typically don't itemize him because you put your tank items onto your Mundo instead, because you run them together. Mundo is a lot more tanky. But if you end up 3-starring him, great. If you're running like a reroll Lissandra build or something, you end up 3-starring him or whatever, you know, you figure something out. Then you can itemize him, but typically you don't itemize him because you do actually run him in your late game build if you're playing Chemtex and or Bruisers. Yeah. But itemize him if you 3-star. Braum. All right, I love Braum. Okay, so what Braum does is Braum does his ultimate in League of Legends. He slams his shield down. It knocks up all enemies within 2 hexes, at least at the time of me doing this, around Braum. So he knocks up basically the entire front line if they're all in the middle. So you put them in the middle or whatever. And then he does the fissure all the way to the end of the board, but in the direction that he's facing. So towards the enemy that he's currently fighting. So whenever you're positioning him, if he's just your default frontliner and you just need him up here and he's like your solo frontliner or whatever that you're running, then you just put him up here wherever he needs to go, right? You just put him in front of your team. But there is some big brain positioning that you can do. Like let's say the enemy team has their solo frontlining a Sion and then their backline's behind them. Well, then you'd want, like, Sion is on this hex over here, right? Then you would want him to be facing you want him to be facing their team at an angle so that he would be fighting the Sion, and then would boom. So that's just some 5-head positioning there for you. But you know, you don't have to do that if you don't really care about getting maximum value, or you don't need to get maximum value, or he's just your plug and play frontliner. But in those micro scenarios, he does do it towards his enemy. At least at the time of making this video, maybe they'll balance him differently, but I would hate if they balance him differently. I kind of like how their skill expression and his ability in like the premier CC unit. So he's like the premier CC 4-cost frontliner. Cool. Mundo. Okay, what Mundo does is Mundo does his ultimate in League of Legends and his W, I believe. I haven't played him since the rework. But I believe it's his W. Cool. Yeah, it is, because that used to be his flame balls. So what he does is whenever he casts, he scales with AP. Whenever he casts, he gains a bunch of his health back, and he gains a little bit of health over time, at least at the time of making this video. And then he starts to deal lightning damage around him, like his W in League of Legends. So he does some AoE damage around him, and he heals a lot. He's just a super tank. He's just a ball of stats that deals some damage as well. He can be unkillable sometimes, especially in the right meta. I'm sure he can be unkillable. You just toss tank items on him, and if you end up building like an AP-esque item like Spark is good around him because he deals magic damage. But the problem with building Spark is you typically frontline him with Chemtechs, and your Chemtech carry is typically either going to be Warwick or Urgot, Warwick or Urgot. But if you end up running a Jinx build, Jinx actually deals a lot of magic damage. So that can be a good item, a good option. Or if you end up having a random AP item, you need to put it on somebody, you run an 80 build, then Archangels is not bad on him as well. Because as I said, he does live a very, very, very long time. But just put tank items on him, and then maybe put a random AP item on him if you have to. But don't try to do AP unless there's some random meta out there. Okay, Fiora. So what Fiora does, she does her ultimate, except for with a little bit of twist. She does her ultimate from League of Legends where she puts all the marks around them. She's basically, at the time we make this video, the premier challenger carry. Her along with Yone are going to be the premier challenger carries. But anyways, and obviously Kaisa, but Kaisa is a little bit more geared towards mutant. But anyways, she casts her ultimate and she instantly procs all the vitals. It deals true damage. Her true damage scales with AP at the time we make this video. But it also does scale with AD as well. She does a lot of AD damage. So you can itemize her AD or AP. She's really flexible in her itemization. She's good with like Titan. She's good with healing items. She's good with damage. So just build damage, a little, maybe one tanky item. And at the time we make this video, maybe there'll be some tank meta out there for Fiora, but at the time we make this video, and for most of the set, it should be you build damage. You can build some attack speed like Rage Blade, because she does proc Rage Blade whenever she's dancing around them. At least she should. Cool. So damage, she's premier damage dealer, but she can deal magic damage. It scales like Vayne's true damage as well. All right, cool. Janna. So Janna does her ultimate from League of Legends. She knocks enemies back. It's really huge. I don't know if they'll nerf it at some point, but it covers like it covers like her whole side of the map wherever she is. So if she was right here, it would cover all the way to here. So it's really huge. It knocks everybody back. It does like a 1 second stun or so. They'll probably bounce that throughout the set. So it's a small stun, and she heals everybody around her as well. So all of our allies in that zone get healed. Cool. So whenever you play Janna, there's 2 ways to position her basically, or 3 ways to position her. You can position her just kind of in the middle, right? Like second row or third row, so she can get healing on your front line and your back line. That's kind of like the default positioning if you don't know where to go. You can position her front line to get some good CC and knock back, maybe get a really early cast for your tanks. You can frontline position her, or you can backline position her. Let's say you're playing like a Jhin. Put like a Jhin carry, and Jin's back here. You can put Janna next to Jhin so that whenever assassins jump back here, she'll peel, knock them back, and then heal your Jhin back up to full so you can save them. You typically don't itemize Janna. If you want to itemize her, you just give her leftover items. So just give her leftover items. She is a 4-cost enchanter. She is like a default play this unit. Like if you don't know how to build your comp and you're hitting Janna's, play Janna, right? But yeah, she's going to be good in basically every comp, except for comps that have like extremely strict builds. She's very, very, very good plug and play unit. Very good tag, scrap, enchanter, scholar. It's very nice. All right, cool. Jhin. Okay, so Jin's my boy. What Jhin does is he's a sniper and a clockwork, insane tags, really good tags. He's actually a decent splash unit sometimes just because of clockwork. If clockwork is ever strong, he's a really decent splash unit. Okay, so what Jhin does, if you open up his tooltip, it's really long. What you need to know is he deals AD damage. And he actually his AD does scale with attack speed. So if you end up building attack speed on him, it does do something that gives him AD. But the flip side of it is his attack speed is locked. So he won't actually ever auto attack quicker, but he does gain damage. So let's say you build Rage Blade. He won't ever attack quicker, but every attack will give him attack speed towards his passive, which gives him attack damage. All right, cool. Now, Jhin, what he does his ultimate from League of Legends, where he fires 4 shots. It goes all the way across the map. At the time we make this video, his targeting is at whoever he's attacking. So it's not just like furthest unit, which I love. Man, I can't stand those types of designs. They're so annoying, especially when there's so many. Because there's already one, and that's great. But man, at the time we make this video, he just shoots at whoever he's targeting. He shoots 4 shots. The 4th shot deals 4 shot at the time of making this video crits. What you need to know is that the 4th shot will deal more damage if it doesn't crit later. The 4th shot deals a lot of damage. What you want to build on him is AD and QSS. He's actually one of the only good QSS users because he is really built into like getting a lot done with his first cast, and there's so much CC late game. So damage plus a QSS is pretty good, but if you just want to build him full damage, that's fine too. If you have a lot of peel, maybe you have a lot of CC, but if there's a lot of CC comps, he can be good for QSS. You need a way to kill frontline, and you need a way to kill backline. So you need either a Giant Slayer or Last Whisper to kill the frontline, depending on what the meta is and what the comps are in your game. And then you also need some type of damage, like Infinity Edge is going to be obviously super good, synergized with his ulti. And then also a Deathblade is good. So just AD, don't think about it too hard, but you need a way to kill frontline typically. And then you need another damage item so you can just deal more damage. And then a third consideration is maybe another damage item, maybe a healing item, maybe a defensive item like QSS, like BT. So just have that consideration. Highly meta dependent, highly lobby dependent on what your third item will be. So what you need to know is damage, shred, +1. He's a backliner. Okay, Lux. Now she does have that targeting that I said I don't like, but I'm fine with targeting like this if it is only 1 or 2 units. It's great. So what she does, she fires her ulti at the furthest unit. Is their ulti from League of Legends, so she gets her big laser beam. Boom, she blows it off. It does AP damage. If she kills a target with the beam, she does refund some of her mana, kind of like how it works in League, where she refunds some of her cooldowns, right? So she refunds some of her mana. So she's actually a really good blue buff user, which is interesting, right? But so she's a good blue buff user, and then AP. So just blue buff plus AP. On the other hand, hear me out. You can also just build full damage. This will be highly meta dependent. You just build full damage, and she gets mana generation by killing a unit, right? So you can think about her that way, where she doesn't need the blue buff because she just one-shots somebody every time she ults, and she'll get it back. It does do AoE. It does damage all the way through. Maybe they'll balance it differently to where, you know, it has reduced damage as it goes, but at this time it is full-on damage. She's basically the premier arcanist carry along with Victor. Cool. Orianna, she is another unit that is like, if you don't know what to play, she's always going to be good in your comp. She is a utility unit that also deals a lot of damage and shields. So what she does is she tosses out her ball to the most enemy units, and it does her ultimate. So it does kind of like, if you played last set, it does like Diana's cast, right? So she tosses out the ball and she knocks them up and then switches their positioning a little bit around, right? It's like a black hole effect. It deals damage, and then any allies caught in it as well will be shielded for some AP. So she scales with AP. I'm sure there'll be a patch where you can run her as a carry. I've run her as a carry on PvE, felt pretty fun, but she is supposed to be more of a utility focused unit, but I'm sure there'll be a patch out there where she is a really good damage dealer. But she does deal decent damage, so if you do want to itemize her, it is a Sojourn plus AP. You can also frontline Orianna. A lot of people just default to frontlining Orianna at 2-star just to get her ulti off really early in the fight, especially in late game fights. That is really, really, really important. So always have the consideration whether you're going to frontline or backline her. As you play the game more, you'll learn when to do that and when not to do that. But yeah, typically late game, if you don't know where to go, you can frontline her. She's a good GA user if you want to do that, if you want to frontline her so she can get it off. She can't solo frontline or anything like that. You would only frontline her so that she can get a really early cast off. You get maximum value on her ulti while everyone's kind of clumped up at the beginning of a fight. Cool. So either frontline or backline positioning if you want to itemize her. Sojourn plus AP. Also, GA is good if you're going to frontline her if you get a random GA. All right, Seraphine. Seraphine is a socialite and an innovator. Her tags kind of suck, but her ability's kind of good. So what she does is she does her ultimates from League of Legends. I've never played this champion or played versus it, but you know, you can process of elimination. It's a big ability. Ulti. So she casts her ulti, and what it does is it throws a wave. It deals magic damage, and at the time of me making this video, her targeting is towards most enemy units. So she tosses it in front of her, and it heals all of your allies that it passes through, and then the enemies that you hit, it deals damage. I believe she gives attack speed to her allies at this time, but they've been messing with that a lot. But what you need to know is, it doesn't matter what it actually does and what it does at the time you're watching this video. What it does is it buffs your allies and it damages the enemies, right? It heals them, or maybe it buffs them. That'll change throughout the set probably. And it deals damage to whoever it hits. So typically you want to position her at the back of your comp. Like maybe you're playing like a clump comp where everybody's like clumped right here, right? Then you want her at the back so she can get maximum value. Cool. And just think about moving her positioning. I've ran her as my DPS. She's typically like a side. If like you can give her leftover carry items, it can be pretty good. But you know, if there's ever a patch where she's a good carry, it's Sojin plus AP, and you're good to go. Sion. Sion is one of the premier frontliners. He falls out as a frontliner to Galio because Galio is a legendary, but he's a really solid unit if you get him early game. And then he's obviously the frontliner for the Imperial comp if that ever becomes meta. And he's also a really good damage dealer. There's currently a build at the time of making this video where you just play Socialite plus Sion and 2 Imperials, and Sion just solo carries. So he does deal AP damage, and he basically knocks up the whole board. He has smart targeting, so he does do... His targeting is towards the most enemy units, and he does his Q from League of Legends, a big cleave. He slams it down, and he knocks him up. The knockup scales with his star level, and damage scales with his star level. If you want to itemize him, you can. If you want to carry him, you just itemize him with 1 tank item plus 2 damage, typically. Or if you want to play him as just your tank, you just put tank items. Very cool unit, very awesome. I love Sion. He has a Colossus, so he does take 2 spots up on your board. So cool. All right, Urgot. Here's my man Urgot. So Urgot is a ranged unit. At the time of making this video, I believe he has a 3 hex range. He's kind of like the Draven of the set, I guess, if you want to think about it like that. Cool. So he's a twin shot and a Kim Tech. He's very good. So what he does is he does his W. Yes, it's his W. I've actually put a lot of Urgot. He does his W from League to where he is like a machine gun, right? So he does it for a certain amount of time. He casts it and he is mana locked while he's doing it, and then he casts it again. It scales with AD and attack speed is what that ability scales with. Some good items on him are Runan's Hurricane, because the Runan's will apply all of his auto attacks. Runan's Hurricane's good, and also Runan scales with Twin Shot because the more times you attack, the more Runan procs you'll get. So it does scale with Runan's. AD is good. So Runan's AD. Rageblade is good because, as I said, his ability does scale with attack speed. You can get some good stacks. I have played an RFC version of him so that I could backline him. So that was pretty cool. I did like doing that. That was pretty fun. Giant Slayer is a very good item on him. Armor Shred's a very good item on him. He does have the problem that he can't hit backline. So if you are solo carrying him, it is pretty imperative to have some type of shred. But typically you pair him with like a Jinx, and you kind of do like a duo carry comp, and then maybe it's not as necessary to be able to shred, but you know, he is hitting frontline the whole time, so that is a huge consideration when you're playing Urgot. But basically attack speed, AD items, and typically really have a big consideration on building shred. But he is the carry of the Chemtech comp, and he is one of the carries of, if you're going to play Twin Shot, you know, if you're playing Chemtechs, mutants, stuff like that, he's a really good side carry. If you're going to play around the legendaries like Jinx and Kaisa, very good side carry, or it can be the primary carry and you side carry one of the legendaries. Cool. That is highly meta dependent, obviously. Yone. All right, so what Yone does is Yone does his E. I've never played Yone in my life. I'm just guessing. Seems like an E. Yeah, his W is the thing. All right, cool. It's his E. He tosses out his E, and what it does is he puts a ghost out there. He puts his clone out there, and the clone, it deals damage. It also deals, it deals a portion of his damage. I'm sure it'll change throughout the balance, but it deals a portion of his damage. So he can't actually hit backliners. And that thing can get Runan's procs as well. We said the time we make this video, maybe we'll change it. But it can get Runan procs as well. It gets everything that Yone gets. His clone also gets it. So he can hit frontline and he can hit backline, and then he heals for a portion of the damage that his clone does as well. At least that's how they have it coded right now. Cool. So what you need on Yone: attack speed, damage, or shred items, or tank items. He's actually a decent GA user. There's not a lot of good GA users, but he's actually, for carries, but he's actually a decent GA user, because let's say you frontline your Yone. when he tosses out a clone, if he dies and goes into stasis into his GA, his clone will still be out there having a great time. And his clone can't take damage. His clone is invulnerable. His clone will be out there having a great time, and it will be healing Yone while he's in stasis. So at least that's how it interacts right now. So some solid items on him are just damage. Runan's Hurricane at the time we make this video is his best item, like, because as you know, it procs to stuff. So Runan's is very good. Damage, some type of healing is good. Shred. He's just build him like an AD carry. But Runan's is his premier item, at least at the time we make this video, and I can't imagine that not being the case later. GA is also good. Titans is good. One tank item is good sometimes. It's just situational. Typically, when you run Yone, you're duo carrying Yone and Fiora. It is a little bit difficult for him to solo carry a lot of the time. Cool. So you just either primary carry Fiora or primary carry Yone, and then you just side carry the other one. Just think about it that way. Okay, Akali. So what Akali does? Akali, she does her ultimate in League of Legends. I've played a lot of Akali. She's my top 5 most played. Anyways, in League. So what she does her first part of her ulti, she does R1, and she marks them. So what that is, if you haven't played League, she dashes through enemies and deals some damage, and she marks them. And this is different from League, but she marks them, and then once they go below a certain threshold, that'll depend on balance, she dashes back through for an execute, but they might change that throughout that time. She just dashes through for a lot more damage or an execute, depending on where it is in the balance. So that's what you need to know. She's very good with AP and crit. She does deal AP, but she is an assassin, so she's going to have damage amp with critical strike. So IE or Jeweled. IE is probably going to be your best bet, but if you have to build Jeweled, you're good to go. Like IE, Jeweled, Death Cap, and then you can build a defensive item in there, like a Hodge, like that gives you healing. You can build a GA if you really need to. You can build a QSS to give her uptime, but it's just damage. Damage. She scales with crit. And blue buff is also good as well, but I have seen that falling out of favor recently. But it's just AP damage, crit damage, uptime if you need it, and blue buff if you need it. Be highly meta dependent, but she is a damage dealer for the Syndicate build, especially if you want to pivot into it late game, and you're already playing Syndicates. She's really good if you want to play her late game. Obviously, she's a legendary. All right, cool. Not Urgot. Why do I keep saying Urgot? Galio, my man. He's a Colossus. He's a socialite. He's a bodyguard. He just does everything. And I just deleted him. There he goes. All right, so what Galio does, he does his ultimate from League of Legends, except for he does it not on an ally. He does it on the most crowded spot of enemies on the board. And so what he does, he flies up into the sky, and then he slams back down, and he knocks him up. And the knock-up scales based off of his HP versus theirs. So if he has a lot of HP and they don't have much HP, then he knocks them up for longer. At least that's how it is right now. So he's very good of a Warmog's wear. You can slam tank items on him. You can slam carry items on him. A lot of times people give leftover carry items on him. I have ran him as primary carry. It was really fun, but it was weird. I'm sure there'll be a patch where he's good as a primary carry, but a lot of people will slam leftover AP items on him and tank. Something that's very important to note, he is not, you would think he would be, but he is not a very good solo frontline unit. Unless you're running him as your carry, then he is. The problem with running him as a solo frontline is, let's say you have this full backline comp back here and you're solo frontlining him. He jumps into the sky for a whole second. What happens to everyone else? Well, they all move and they all start attacking your backline, and Galio now hits nothing because the clump has now separated because they were clumped up because they were hitting Galio, and now he flies into the sky, and then people declump. So either they declump and they start killing your backline, and Galio and he doesn't know what's going on, and either that happens, or at the very least they declump, and now you don't get a lot of value off of your ulti, off of your ulti cast. Also, the other part of his ability is he does deal some extra damage with his auto attacks, and I believe it does some AoE and 1 hex. So that's why he's good. Good with some extra AP items. So he does scale with AP. He actually has really good base AD at the time we make this video. So if you build like IE, it's actually kind of good. I've done it before. But you don't ever do that on purpose, at least at a time. But you can see the scenario if you solo frontline him. He'll just jump in, he'll slam down, and then everyone will be gone, and he'll just be over there like, you know, like the SpongeBob thing where he doesn't know where to go. Anyways, if you know, you know. All right. Jinx. She's the face of the set. She's the face of League. She's the face of Arcane. And she is the face that I'm clicking on right now. All right, Jinx. Let's talk about her. She has a lot going on. Okay, so she has a sister buff. Sister, on takedowns, she gains attack speed for 3 seconds. So she is obviously very good scaling with attack speed. She has an extremely flexible and what I will imagine will be a very meta-dependent build. She can play AD, she can play AP, but I'm sure from patch to patch, it'll be like, if you're not playing AP, you're trolling. If you're not playing AD Jinx, you're trolling. If you're playing AP Jinx, you typically don't need Sister, because what happens, what Jinx does when she casts her ability, she rides her rocket all the way up off of your screen and then slams down on an area with the most enemies, and it does healing reduction, or it burns them and does healing reduction, and it just deals a lot of damage if you build AP. And that part deals magic damage. Now, when she lands, she's doing physical damage, obviously. And she has her rocket launcher out. So she's doing physical damage. So you can itemize her either way. It'll be highly meta dependent. Rageblade, regardless, is going to be a pretty good item on her. But if you want to run like a nuke one-shot build, obviously you wouldn't build Rageblade, because she does have that natural damage amp if you're able to run Sister. But again, if you're running AP Jinx, you probably don't even need Sister at all, because you're just trying to one-shot nuke, so you're good to go. But she's one of the premier carries in the game. Just when you're wanting to play Jinx, really pay attention to what's meta and all that good stuff. But she's really good at, like, if you just get, you know, if you just can't figure out what to play and you just hit a Jinx and you have like AD and AP items, you're like, oh, okay, I'll Jinx, go. Cool. All right, now we're on the Kaisa. Kaisa is very similar in Jinx's case, is she has a pretty flexible build. So Kaisa, what she does is she is a challenger, so she has really good attack speed scaling, right? She is a mutant, so you'll play off your mutations. She deals a lot of damage. What she does is whenever she ults, she does her ulti from League of Legends, where she dashes, right? So she dashes to somewhere on the map. I'm sure that'll change with balance. So she dashes to another spot on the map. That'll go with balance. I already know that they'll change her positioning from patch to patch. So she'll jump, and then she'll shoot at her Q from League of Legends, which is her missiles that come from her back, right? And so she shoots at missiles and AoE at targets around her, or targets around her target. And the more time she attacks, the more missiles that come out, or the more damage that it'll do. Just think about it that way. The more damage it'll do, the more attack she gets off. So she has obvious synergies with Rageblade, as well as way Challenger works. You gain attack speed. The more attack speed you have, the more Rageblade can scale. So Rageblade is going to be an amazing item on her, but you don't have to build Rageblade. It's not mandatory. She is AP, but if you have to build AD items on her, she does attack very fast. So you can build AD items on her. I've seen people fully itemize AD and still deal like 50% of her damage was still magic damage. So she is primarily an AP carry, but like I said, if you end up having to play her as AD carry, she attacks really, really, really fast. And if you build attack speed items on her, then you're good to go. But she is one of the premier late game carries, very strong at 2-star. Player in mutation. You don't really have to worry about your mutation whenever you play her. I'm sure there'll be a meta and a patch where it's like, oh, if you get this mutation, you cannot play Kaisa. I'm sure there'll be a patch like that, but she's just one of the premier late game carries, and that's all you really need to know about that. Just pay attention to the meta on how she's supposed to be played at the time. But if you don't know what to do, attack speed's good. Like Rageblade is good. Hodge is good. She does have some dual scaling. She is attacking really fast, and then she deals AP, and then AP items are very good. Titans is decent because she has dual scaling. Obviously, she does a lot of AD damage and a lot of magic damage. So, but primarily she is a magic damage dealer. All right, Sir Thomas Kinch. I love this man. Tom, what he does is he eats an enemy, which is now currently his ultimate in League of Legends. I bet you didn't think I'd know that one, because they just reworked him. But it is his ultimate in League. He can gobble up whoever he's fighting. And so he gobbles them in his mouth. They hang out in his belly for a while, and then he spits them out. And if he kills them, this is crazy. If you kill them, you gain whatever gold their cost of champion is. So if it's a 5 cost, you'll gain 5 gold. Or you can gain an item component of one of the items they have built. Pretty cool, right? So he's obviously really good if you get him early. He does have another synergy part of him called Glutton. So Glutton is if you in between rounds, if you grab a unit, let's say I got a Samira on my bench. I grab my Samira, I dangle it over young Thomas's face, and then he opens his mouth. I drop it in, and he scrumps it up. He digests it, and he processes it into stats. Okay, so if I drop the Samira into his belly, he will gain AP. He'll always gain AP or tank stats. So for enchanters, I don't know the full table, but enchanters will give him magic resist. Bodyguards will give him armor, and then anybody who deals a lot of damage, like Seraphine or any of the damage synergies, right? Seraphine's kind of like she's a socialite, but she deals a lot of damage. So like she'll give him AP, and any of the damage dealers, anybody who scales with damage will give him AP. And then it scales with cost of the champion. So let's say you give him a 1 cost, and this will change throughout balance. If you give him 1 cost, he'll get a small amount of, like 1 cost Caitlyn. You give him a Caitlyn, you know, he'll gain a small amount of AP. Let's say you gave him a 2-star Kaisa, which you shouldn't do. Then he'll gain a crap ton of AP because it's a 15 gold unit. You see what I mean? So he scales with that. Very solid frontliner to run if you're running Mundo already as one of your frontliners. You're playing around bruisers, or you know, you can plug and play him sometimes because he is very good CC. So he and the other thing you need to know, if they can't be CC'd, he just deals a smaller portion of his damage to them because he can't CC them. So he still does get value if they have QSS or they're playing Colossus, but he does get less value. He does get countered by Colossus units. A really important whenever you're playing Tom is that you need to position him around, like, if they have like a real, like, let's say they have a fully stacked Braum, then just put him right in front of the Braum. He'll gobble him up and make Braum useless for the first, 5 seconds of the fight or whatever. So so his positioning is pretty important sometimes. If you want to itemize him, just put tank items on him. If you really want to, you can put like a death cap on him and make him kill people when he gobbles them. That can be fun too. Cool. And it'll be extremely meta dependent how you feed him, but it's typically like, if you have a lot of bruisers, well, he already has a lot of tankiness, so let's give him damage, or maybe you actually need him as a frontliner, just that's what you need him for, then give him some health. So just whatever makes sense for the game. Be really careful with Tom. If you still need to roll to hit units, please do not feed him 5 costs. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not worth it. If like your win condition is hitting a Kaisa 2-star and you're sitting over there feeding them 5 and 4 costs, like you're doing it wrong. Okay. Wow. We're almost at the end, guys. Whoa. I've been trying to go through this, but we always know this is going to be a long video. All right. Victor is very cool. So Victor he's one of the premier carries in Arcanist, and I guess Gimp Tech if you want to, but you typically run him Arcanist because he really needs the AP. At least at the time we make this video. So what Victor does is whenever he casts, he like shoots his laser beam around the map, and these little sentinel things come out, and it shoots lasers everywhere. It's really, really, really cool. Once you see it first happen, it shoots it all over the map at all the enemies. It's very, very, very cool. So what he does is he does that. So he just does AP damage. That's what you need to know. He does AP damage, and he does have some like inbuilds like MR shred and stuff like that on his kit. Some weird stuff in there as well. But what you really need to know is he deals a lot of damage, and he's a very good damage dealer. Cool. It'll be highly meta dependent on whether you itemize him or you itemize Lux. I mean, he is a legendary, so you would typically want to itemize him, but I can see some patches where he's not good and you itemize Lux over him. But cool. All right. His best item, his best mana gen item is either going to be Sojin. A Rage Blade's also a good mana gen item. Don't put blue buff on him. His mana cost is really insane. So just Sojin plus AP and you're good to go. That's all you really need to know. He's a pretty simple champ. He's just a classic AP carry. Cool. Yuumi. Here's another complicated champion. Yuumi. All right. Anyways, Yuumi. She is cuddly. She's a cat and she's an academic. And she has a great time, and she's a strong, independent cat. She don't need no man to help her, but she likes to help all those other men. Anyways, what's wrong with me? This video is long. Anyways, Yuumi. What she does her ultimate from League of Legends, and so she casts out waves in front of her, and the waves are a micro stun, very good CC, decent amount of damage. Obviously this will change without balance, but the thing that she is really so that's really awesome already in the fact of it. And she does have great tags, Scholar, and then if you're playing academies or you're playing like a Leona or something. So she has really good tags. But Cuddly is really what you need to know. Cuddly, so what she does, she becomes untargetable and attaches herself to an ally. And she gives that ally a shield based off of her HP, or her maximum HP. maybe that scaling will change a little bit, but at the time you make the video, it's maximum HP. So she gives him a shield and she becomes untargetable like she does in League. And then what she does after that is, so she'll, after a certain amount of time, or maybe the shield expires, this will change with balance, but she'll hop out and she'll jump to other people. So she's constantly hopping out and giving shield. She's usually the last one left alive, and she doesn't really do much by herself, other than the ulti, doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but she's very good. So you typically don't itemize her that much, but here is a really good way to itemize her, is you put a Warmogs on her. Because if you put a Warmogs on Yuumi, it's like basically giving Warmogs to so many different units. Because if you give Warmogs to Yuumi, she gives a Warmogs to your frontliner. And the way that Cuddly works is that she will attach to her closest ally. So it's a 50-50 chance, at least at the time we make this video. They might change it. She attaches to her closest ally. So let's say you're playing a Brom, you're playing a Brom, or you're playing a Galio. Yeah, you're playing a Galio. All right, you're playing a Galio, maybe Ginger backliner, whatever. Pretend these are the only 3 units that exist on your board. Jhin obviously is going to have less base health than Galio. So she has a 50-50 chance if there are only 2 units on the board, whether she would go here or here, right? It'd obviously be 50-50 chance. And let's say your board is now populated with all these people, right? Whatever. And the scenario would still be the same. Let's say Jhin actually has the smallest base health out of all these people. So it's 50-50 whether she goes here or here, right? But if you go here, now it's a 33% chance here, here, or here. See what I mean? So typically you want to position her with your frontliner to give them that shield, especially if you put a Warmogs on her, you definitely wanted to go here. So there are some scenarios where you put a Warmogs on her and it's not very good because she goes back here and now your Galio doesn't have Warmogs, right? So it's just a really big consideration to make. She's also a very good Archangels user because she does live an extremely long time. She's there at the end of the fight. So if you want to itemize her with an AP item, you do that. I'm sure there'll be a patch where she's really good at itemize, but at the time we make this video, it's Warmogs and an Archangel if you want to itemize her. But if not, don't worry about itemizing her. Really, 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 really insane unit. All right, man. That was long. That was long. We did this whole thing, guys. We did this whole thing. If you guys stayed for this whole video, I appreciate all of you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. It was over an hour and 20 minutes long. So if you made it to this video, I appreciate all of you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy the set. I'm enjoying the set a lot so far, and yeah. Again, this guide is just about what the units are supposed to do. This isn't like how to build and how to do stuff. I'm just giving you the baseline knowledge if you don't want to spend 2 weeks learning how to play each unit, or you don't want to spend forever doing this stuff. So if you made it to the end, please leave a comment down there. And I read all the comments, and it makes me feel good when I read those. And I think it's just cool to see who stuck around and listened to me talk for an hour and 20 minutes. So anyways, that's it. Appreciate all of you guys, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Bye.